Hey guys, welcome back to another episode on Single-Handedly. I'm Thomas,
And I'm Nick.
and today we're going to be speaking about my favorite topic, money. We can't have enough of it. Does it buy happiness, Nick? We've discussed it on many episodes.
I mean, like Fabio said, it buys freedom
Buys freedom.
and choices.
Definitely something we can get a better understanding on. Something which, is the basis to life nowadays, because anything we do, even
Exactly. And it's something that everyone has to learn on how to deal with, I think. So this is something that like we literally talked about just like a few minutes ago, but like some people go to the gym and have a personal trainer. Today we have with us someone who is a personal trainer, but not for the gym, not for the strength of your body, but for the strength of your wallet. So we have with us Luca. Luca is a money coach. Luca, you're a certified money coach?
Yes,
right?
yes, I'm a certified money
Certified
coach.
money coach.
Yeah, and founder of the Money Coaching Hub. Just started last January, so quite new.
So is it your job to make millionaires, or what's your job exactly?
It's my job to help people enhance their relationship with money, not just from the practical point of view, but also from the psychological point of view as well.
Okay. All right. So people come to you because they want to learn more about money, more about themselves and the relationship of themselves and money, and how to kind of improve that.
Yes, exactly. And some of them come just for the practical side of it. But in reality, even when they have the sessions with me, they find out that the psychological part is quite important because it really pertains to their daily habits. And when you are in charge of your habits and you have good habits related to money, it can increase your prospect of having a better life, not just with money, but also in general.
And why do you think the conversation about money seems to be an uncomfortable topic to speak about, or maybe it's sort of taboo to speak about? Why is that ideology sort of ingrained in us?
I think the problem is that the society we have grown up into. So when we were young, our parents, at least most of them, they never spoke to us about money or how to manage money. And when they spoke about money, it was in hushed tones, so that the children do not hear. And in their minds, maybe they thought, listen, it's to safeguard our children. But then when we grew up and went into the outside environment, and we started experiencing everyday lives, we took our first car loan, maybe our first home loan. We became more vulnerable to making mistakes, which could have been avoided if there was more financial literacy, not just from the parents' side, but also in our schools. We don't have a subject related to money in our schools. Don't mention to me accounts or business management or economics. They're not about personal finances.
Talking about financial literacy, like actual...
Yeah. We don't have anything like that in Malta, not just Malta, but really even around the world. Financial literacy is so subjective that I think governments are afraid to introduce it into our schools. But it can be so beneficial to the younger generation so that they don't experience the same issues that we're experiencing.
That's definitely something that many people would like, but when it comes to practice, I don't think it's as applicable to be put into a syllabus, because I think the main frame and the main structure of it is relatively the same. But when it comes to specifics of money,
I think that's true, because I mean this is like education, so you can't. So currently the education system is the same for everyone, regardless of your background, regardless of your intellectual abilities, regardless of if you're a certain age, you are treated as everyone else your age when it comes to education. And I think that would be the problem when it comes to money, because people have a different understanding of money.
It's very subjective. But I've had several clients who, how to say, if they had more knowledge, they told me if I had more knowledge, I wouldn't have done the mistakes I did. And some of the mistakes they did cost them thousands, or they're into credit card debt and they cannot get rid of it. Okay?
What are some of the most common money mistakes that we make?
So definitely overspending is one of the weaknesses that many people experience. So overspending can easily, I say easily in inverted commas, because of course every person is different, but it can be managed with a practical forecast spending plan. So I'm not saying it's about restricting. Money coaching is not about restricting, it's about the balance. So if you really like, you're passionate about cars, for example, and you like buying vintage cars, for example, you can budget to buy such cars. But at the same time, if you don't care about wearing branded clothes, then you can buy normal clothes and you don't spend that much. It really depends on the person's desires and objectives. For another person, it can be taking 4 or 5 trips a year. He can save towards that objective. But for him, going out every weekend is not something which he feels obliged to do because he doesn't like it. Every person has different desires and different objectives. And that is how I help clients work around their spending plan. So month by month, important. So you have to divide it not year by year, because year by year is quite long. You have to divide it month by month, so it's easier to plan it out.
Okay. And what age or when would be the best time to get into getting educated about money? Is it at 8-9 years old when you're literally learning about everything and you treat it at the same level of everything? Or would it be when you start making an income maybe, or you start making multiple figures a year?
I would say as early as possible.
Okay.
So if you are that young, it depends on the parents to start giving the education. And it starts with maybe the pocket money. And also explaining to our children, listen, what it means to how to spend it, what it means to save it, and also start gradually introducing the world of investing to them. If, of course, the parent is educated into the investing world, because that's another problem that we face. Many people relate investing either just to risk or just to buying very safe, in inverted commas, securities like bonds, etc. Okay, and I think that's a disadvantage because when you look at inflation, this past at least 2 years, it's been up by 8 to 10%. We see it in the grocery prices of everyday life. The problem was that we experienced a long period where inflation wasn't a thing. So prices were always almost the same, or they increased only by a bit. So we weren't aware that it was a risk, inflation. But now with 8%, 10%, and you hear many people complaining about it, it's become a thing. And it's been a long time coming. And many things happened to make it a reality. So the war in Ukraine, the post-COVID scenario, they all contributed towards inflation. So by investing into, for example, the American stock market, which is the most dynamic stock market in the world, you can fight against inflation. Why? Because in the past 90 years, the American stock market had returns between 8 to 10% a year. Average, approximate, so it's not every year 8 to 10%. Some years it may be plus 25%. Other years it may be minus 10%. It doesn't matter as long as you invest per month, because you're buying the market at different prices.
Exactly.
So when it comes to, because you're talking about investing, and maybe for those people who never invested, or that this topic isn't something, like as soon as they hear the word investing, they're like, no, it's I don't understand investing, so I don't invest.
What's the first domino they need to drop to get into investing?
What's that?
You have to start first with getting into the habit of saving money. That's the first step. So saving money, having liquid cash base, okay, in case of emergencies, or a backup fund, I would say.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. And I would start working towards that by putting aside an amount of money which I feel comfortable putting aside. So this is like paying a loan. When you pay a car loan, you have, for example, €150 a month. So this is the same. You put aside some money, but it's for yourself. Okay. And once you get accustomed to that, you can gradually increase it. But start small and then increase it gradually. Don't start big immediately. Why? Because if you earn, for example, I don't know, 2,000 euro a month, 1,000 euro a month, and you start immediately with 500 euro savings, you won't last more than 3 to 4 months. It becomes a headache getting out 500 euro all the time. So start with 50 euro. That's how I started. I started with 50 euro a month. And then gradually I increased it. Even if it's buybacks, for example, first 50, then by 25 euros, I would 75 euro, and then by another 25. Because you're building a habit there. Okay?
Okay.
And then, once you have the backup fund in place, you can start investing. So investing, there are, especially people who are, familiar with it, there are many funds where one can invest in. And without giving investment advice, because I'm not here to give out investment advice, I just look at the statistics. The S&P 500, which is the fund which represents the top 500 companies in the US, which is the most dynamic stock, has the most dynamic stock market in the world. It gave returns between 8 to 10% a year for the past 90 years. Now, for some people, they tell me, listen, you're looking 90 years back. If I had to look 20 years back or 30 years back, it's the same return, if not more.
Okay.
The stock market always wins. There may be years where it's on a downward spiral, okay? But if you're in it for the long run, you'll always win. The more years you're present in the stock market, the better the chance of success you'll have.
Okay. So let's take a step back from investing and start with getting the money from investing, and let's start with budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say what's an average salary in Malta, Nick?
I think average salary is 1,200 or 1,400.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many people are starting with that now.
Let's get a salary of 1,300, 200 to 1,200. So average Joe gets 1,200 in a month, and he'd like to get into investing bit by bit, but he also has the shopping of the month.
He has the shopping of the wife,
the
and
rent.
the family, the rent. Let's say rent, maybe not loan, because
Rent. Let's say
rent.
because many people are opting for renting nowadays
Basically.
as well. He has grocery shopping to do. He's got fuel. He's got maintenance of car. Any loose ends around the house, water and electricity bills, internet and mobile. How would he, already having maybe a family of three with one kid and two parents?
You're stressing me out with this budget that you're giving me.
He's already a bit tight, but he wants to break away from living paycheck to paycheck. What would be the key starters? Because maybe he'd tell you, no, I'd rather keep it safe. I'd rather keep it in a bank.
And that's actually a thing. Like, more people that have families are less inclined to invest because they say, listen, I have kids, I'm married, blah blah. I can't afford taking risks.
Yeah.
So how would you optimize the paycheck to be used as efficiently as possible?
Yeah. So first thing I would suggest is that the person would draw out a list of the expenditures he has. So to see if there are expenditures which can be lessened, because once you have everything written down, it becomes easier to see where you're spending the most. And sometimes you see a part of your budget which can be reduced a lot. You're just not aware that you're spending that much. For example, many people are not aware that they're spending that much on the deliveries of
Food deliveries.
The food
Yes.
deliveries, yeah. And by writing it down, it becomes easier for them to recognize that. So if you say to me, but listen, I don't want to write it down. It's a headache putting up an Excel sheet, etc. Nowadays we have systems like, for example, Revolut and the new the fintech, the new cards, etc., which make it easier to
look at the
transactions, etc. So
it's also easier to spend with the contactless now.
it's easier to spend, but it's easier also to keep track.
Definitely.
So if you're in the past, if you spend, I don't know, 800 euro a month on groceries, you couldn't know for sure. Why? Because you spent part of it, I don't know, in one supermarket, another part of it in another supermarket, the third part of it in the small grocery you have near you.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, you can use a system like, I won't mention names, okay? But you can use one of the new systems, okay? One of these cards, and you can say to her, listen, if I spend in one supermarket, that's groceries. If I spend in supermarket, that's groceries as well. If I spend in that pharmacy, that's health. And it can track everything for you, and you do nothing. Then at the end of the month, you go on its analytics, and it's all there. And you didn't break any sweat putting it on an Excel sheet. So for some people, Excel sheets are better. For others, having everything technological is better. Myself, I prefer the technology part, for example. Okay, so that's writing it down. Then you have to save for your emergency fund before investing.
An emergency fund. What's that?
An emergency fund is a backup fund. So let's put this person in a scenario. He has a full-time job and he has to look after his kids, his wife, etc., whatever. And something like COVID comes along. Or maybe the person has a health issue. If the person doesn't have a backup fund to see him through 3 months, 6 months, a year, depending on the person's preference, then he's in trouble. Because the bank won't lend you money if you have a health issue, obviously.
Because you wouldn't pay back the loan?
Exactly. So the first thing before investing, and this is very important, is building the emergency fund, the backup fund, the rainy day fund. It has many names. And this is the most underestimated fund there is, because you don't see any advertising on building on your emergency fund. The adverts we see on television, on social media, is to invest and this stuff, And for every person, the emergency fund is different. So if you have 1,300 a month, maybe you'd feel comfortable multiplying that by 6, so you have 6 months worth of safety net. For another person, it may be 1 year, 2 years, okay? Because when we start investing, and we do that consistently, the amount we're investing, the trick for it to grow, we have to leave it there.
So it's compound.
Yeah. So for it to compound, we have to leave it compounding on its own. We cannot say that's our backup fund. Investing is not our backup fund.
Okay.
Investing is something to use for the future. Now you can invest for the coming 10 years, the coming 20 years. The longer, the better. Okay?
Once they're there, you don't touch them anymore.
That's the ideal scenario, yeah.
Okay.
So have a very good emergency fund. So if something happens, you have that backup. And then start investing. And I would highly recommend for persons to do it month by month. Okay? Not putting in one large lump sum in investing. Why is that? It's simple. Because if you put in, for example, I don't know, let's pick 10,000 euro.
Okay.
And you put it into investing. And a month later, a recession happens. Or Russia invades, I don't know, somewhere else, invades Lithuania. Or China invades Taiwan. And the stock market falls. And I ask, if you're just starting out investing and your 10,000 euro loses 20-30% of its value, how would you feel psychologically? I would bet you'd feel very bad about it. But if on the other hand, you're doing it month by month, the first month you put in 100 euro. And the second month this happens, so okay, that 100 euro, you lost 30% of its value. But in the second month, you're going to buy cheaper with the other 100 euro.
Exactly.
Because the stock market fell. Okay? So to smooth out the process, investing month by month is better. Especially for persons just starting out.
Okay. And for example, the S&P 500, just for those who don't know what is it exactly? It's a share?
The S&P 500, You can invest in it directly through an ETF, an exchange traded fund. Okay, the S&P 500 is comprised of the biggest 500 companies in the US, which is the most dynamic stock market in the world. And you find companies in it like a percentage of Apple, a percentage of Google, Amazon, Johnson & Johnson, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, the big companies, the biggest 500. If there is a company of these 500 which defaults or, it doesn't exist anymore, it's
only
kicked out of the
S&P.
S&P 500 and another company comes in.
Okay.
So that's the S&P 500. Of course, there are other funds. The S&P 500, I like it to be the base of your investing. Okay?
Okay.
So going back to how you would split the income. So you build an emergency fund first, and then to start building savings. So you look at the expenditure that you have per month. Say, okay, I'm spending 100 euros on ordering food or on restaurants. I'm spending 400, 300 euros on supermarket. I'm spending 500 euro maybe loan or whatever. How would you see what's important for them and what's not, what they need to reduce?
Yeah, so it really depends on needs and wants here. Because some expenditure you cannot reduce. For example, expenditure related to health. You cannot go on a person and tell him, listen, you have to reduce the expenditure on medicine. Everyone needs medicine.
Okay.
Or on groceries, for example. But it really depends on your needs and wants. So for a person, it can be okay for him to eat a brand of cereal, which is not one of the usual brands, which is cheaper. So that way he can reduce his expenditure, for example. And for another person, it's not an issue if he doesn't go out eating once a week. Maybe once every 2 weeks is good for him. So there are ways where you can decrease your spending to contribute more towards investing. Now, with investing, as I said before, you can start small. You can just start even with 50 euro per month, okay? And you increase it gradually. And why you start small? Because then you start building a habit. That's the most important thing. That's the psychological part. Start that habit, okay? And then continue enhancing it.
Okay.
And that is something which many people miss. They look at the practical side of it, okay? And the practical side, okay, it's good. But if you don't go into the psychological part, you can start putting aside 50 euro for 2 months, 3 months. But since you did not explore your relationship with money from a psychological point of view, after 3 months, you can just give up and say, listen, I cannot do this because I'm not strong enough when it comes to money. There are some people who are anxious about spending money, for example. They're anxious about saving as well. They feel keeping it in the bank is the safest option they have. Why? Because the bank will never fail. But they don't realize that in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, their 10,000 euro will not be worth the same as it is worth today.
So should they invest all of that, 10,000 euros that they have in the account? So imagine you have an emergency fund which is made up of, let's say, 6 months worth of living expenses, so let's say 6,000 euro just for the sake of it. And then they have a savings account.
Should the savings all be invested, I think?
Exactly. So I believe, and I think you obviously would agree, I believe that you should invest money that you can't afford losing.
Exactly.
Now, when it comes to money you can't afford losing, does that mean your whole savings, or should you risk, say, 90% of your savings to invest? And I say risk, of course, because everyone has different understandings of investment. But where is the fair point to invest when you have savings?
Yeah. So it really depends also on your life goals as well. So let's say you have these 10,000 in savings and you want to invest them all. Okay. It really comes down as well to age. The younger you are, you can invest in more volatile markets. Why? Because you have a long stretch until you need that money. Still, if you have 10,000, I wouldn't put it all in. I would still divide it month by month for the coming 2 years, for example, or for the coming 3 years. I always advocate buying at different prices, not all at once, because you can never know what the stock market does. One day it can be up here, and the other day it can be down here. It all depends on the world events. Now, with regards to savings, it's not just about investing. Maybe you're also saving to build a business, or maybe you're saving to transition from your full-time into a passion project you've been saving for all your life. So saving is not just about investing. It's also about saving for a better life for yourself. Investing, of course, is an integral part because it can give you a decent life in the future, and also, why not, financial freedom, depending on how much you dedicate towards investing. But not every person is the same. Maybe a person's objective is to retire early, so has to invest more. Another person's objective is to start his own business. Maybe he's in a full-time and he wants to transition into his own business. And he has saved for his emergency fund, and he has saved more than to start that business.
Okay. So getting educated is the most prominent part of it. What would be your 5 suggested books or articles or suggested studies to get into a better mindset when it comes to money?
Yeah, so the first book that I read 15 years ago when I started researching about the subject was Rich Dad Poor Dad
I think that's
by Robert Kiyosaki. And I
That's
think it's
our-
behind you, yeah? And I have it.
Comes with the PSP.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, that's...
Show it to the camera for people that don't know.
yeah, it's a very simple book to understand. It introduces many concepts like good debt and bad debt, because many people think that debt is bad, which is something which we can explore further now.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that.
Yeah,
actually.
but if we can continue about
yes,
the books as well. A year or 2 years ago, I listened, because I don't just read, but I use Audible a lot.
Okay.
Okay, so I listened about 3 times now or 4 times to Psychology of Money.
Okay.
I think you have it behind you as well.
Tom, it's
Psychology
just
of
a
Money
library.
by Morgan.
It's the second
Housel, yeah.
second column.
This one?
Lower,
Yeah.
lower. There.
This one.
That one, yeah. It's
Okay.
a very good book because it goes a lot into our behaviors and the emotional aspect when it comes to money. Okay. Then
Let's see if we have any other books.
I can, and yeah, you actually have another. It's not directly connected to money. It's Atomic Habits, because
Third column. 6th book.
as I was saying, when it comes to money, it's a lot about the psychology. And when we go into psychology, it's a lot about building better habits to improve. Okay? And many people, once they start building that habit, which gets them there, they improve a lot. This is like, as you said in the beginning, personal training. Okay? Once you have that habit ingrained in you and you're training every day, you become a much better person. And with money, it's the same. You have to start investing gradually to make it a habit. But before that, you can explore why you're an anxious person when it comes to money, or why you feel powerful when you think about money. So these are all psychological aspects I go into when it comes to money coaching.
Okay. Your 4th book?
So my 4th book, it's you don't have it. It's called Millionaire Teacher.
Okay.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, Andrew Hallam, the author. I read it about 6-7 years ago. It's about a teacher who became a millionaire because he made investing his prime target. So everything he earned, he invested in the stock market, and he invested into these exchange traded funds. So when I'm saying exchange traded funds, there's a difference between funds, exchange traded funds, and mutual funds. Exchange traded funds, you invest in the market without any fund managers, putting in their opinion where to invest, etc. Just follow the market trend. Mutual funds, that you have a fund manager who chooses which companies is going to invest the fund's
Okay.
money in. Okay, so he invested in ETFs and he became a millionaire, if I'm not mistaken, by the age of 45 from a teacher's salary.
That's a very good, very good age, I think, to reach a
Yeah.
million.
But he made it his prime
Prime
target.
target.
Yeah.
I think everyone takes their own pace when it comes to everything in life. So whether it's money, whether it's their career, whether it's their talents, their hobbies. So, I mean, we've seen people become millionaires at 60.
Yeah.
So I think
It really depends on the objectives the person has.
exactly.
For some, they want to become millionaire, not just because millionaire is just a word in reality. You can have a rich life with 300K, 400K. Okay? Not for every person is the same.
When you say rich life for 300K, because some people like to think they have a rich life for 20K a year, 30K a year. So there's a very good quote that I like. I don't know who the author is. I forgot. But it's a lot of people spend money they don't have on things they don't need to impress people that they don't like.
That's Gary Vee's quote.
No,
Yeah.
it's not Gary Vee's quote.
But he repeated it in
He
one of
repeated
his
it.
famous. He made it famous.
I think it's also into the psychology of money or something similar to it. Yeah. Again, it's not the same for every person. For a person living a rich life is going out once a week to have that cup of coffee. So being able to afford that cup of coffee every Saturday is living his rich life. For another person, it can be going on 3 exotic trips a year. Then you find other persons that they want to buy the latest brands. They want to live in a villa. They want to keep up with society. So that's the idea of rich life. Okay? It really depends on how the person grew from childhood till now, on his history, on what kind of people he's integrating. So it's not the same for every person. And that's a life choice. It's a life choice.
And your fifth book. So
I mentioned 4.
4 so far.
So I mentioned 4. In reality, all of Robert Kiyosaki books are good because he has the cash flow quadrant as well, etc. But then I have another book. I forgot the name of the author. It's the history of money.
Okay.
And
I've read about this.
yeah, I forgot the author's name. However, this is different from these because these books they are full of advice about habit building, etc. The history of money, it goes back in time about how people treated money in the past until nowadays. And you find many similarities to how we're treating money nowadays. And surprisingly enough, although people in the past experienced certain things, we're still doing the same mistakes that they did in the past. So there's a saying, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
Okay.
Okay? And that's the case when it comes to money as well.
Certain trends are
certain trends are there because
Okay.
people's behaviors, they don't change.
Okay.
That's why psychology is so important. Practical side, okay, we have improved. We have a better stock market. We democratize the world of money because everyone can invest nowadays. You don't have to be a very rich person to put your money into investing. In the past, maybe it was segregated to the ultra rich. Okay, now we have more democracy on the practical side. But when it comes to emotions, etc., we have become, I think, more vulnerable. Why? Because now we have social media, and if a person posts on social media that, for example, Bitcoin is rising up tomorrow, and you see it really rising up, and you're affected, and you want to invest, that's the herd mentality. Okay? And everyone, even if you're the most disciplined person, everyone takes heed of these things.
The herd mentality
There's the
was
fear of
something-
missing out.
Exactly.
The fear of missing out. And you can be the most knowledgeable person. It even happens to me.
Okay.
It's nothing. I'm a normal person, as the rest of as the rest of you. Okay, when you have social media and you have that power, it plays on your emotions.
Never invest with your emotions.
No.
Commit.
That's
to-
why
to-
you have to
to
do
a
it consistently. Investing is boring. Okay?
Okay.
We don't have to make it exciting. The moment we make it exciting, we can get into trouble. Why? Because we heard that, for example, let's mention a company like Facebook, Tesla, whatever. And we're investing just in that company, not in a fund. And it's doing quite well. Then all of a sudden it slides down because maybe the CEO died. Or maybe the company was not respecting certain rules and procedures, so trust in it goes down. If we're stuck in that company, we're taking lots of risks. It happened about 20, 30 years now. In 2000, there was a big company called Enron. I don't know if you're familiar with the company or not. It was a big oil company. It's like mentioning Apple today.
Okay.
But it was an oil company. And many people invested in it. And just in it. Why? Because it had the power that Apple has today. When you mention Apple today, it's that big company that can never fail. But every company can fail. So, spread your risk. There are tools like the S&P 500 where you can invest in. And do it consistently. And don't search for excitement. You don't need excitement. Okay? I'm not saying that you can't have a trading life where you can make money out of it. But for many people, investing for them is that they have more money in the future to live a better life, so that they concentrate now on the jobs they like. Okay?
Okay.
And that's what we have to concentrate our efforts in.
I think what you mentioned about the herd mentality is like really on point, and a lot of people follow that. A lot of people see the hype on something, and a lot of people want to get rich quick, and a lot of people want that dopamine hit if they're going to invest and going to see a lot of money tomorrow morning when they wake up, and they don't look at it long term. They're in short term, and they want results now. And I think that's a growing problem.
Instant gratification.
Exactly.
That's what they want. And this is how the new societies, the Gen Z people, because they grew up in an environment where with a click of a finger, they have everything they want. So I want, I don't know, a new iPhone. And the past, they used to save for it to buy it. Now, you go to a store, pay per month, and you have it. And pay monthly is easy. Why? Because you just pay €8 a month. It's affordable because you're earning 1,000, 1,300 a month, and you have your brand new iPhone. You want a new iPad, you can do the same. With pay monthly, that's what it did. It made certain things more affordable, okay, and more affordable in inverted commas because you still have to pay more. But we fell into the trap of paying for these material things before we think about our emergency fund, our investing objectives. And that's the trap that this new economic model we're living in has set up for this Gen Z, and not just Gen Z, even millennials for it, okay?
Okay.
Gen Z more because they grew up in that environment only. They don't know anything else.
All right. So people are technically treating investing like gambling at this point.
Yeah, they tend to how to say, see investing as trading. Investing is not trading. Okay.
What is trading? Because people, there's a new wave, especially on TikTok, that you see that trader make 10,000 a week with me.
Buy my course, I'll teach you how to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. There are courses where you can learn trading. Okay, you can learn the charting, candlesticks, etc. There's a whole subject on technical analysis as well, how to do it.
Okay.
And with all due respect to them, it's a good subject as well. So if you're a person who are into these things, it can be done, okay, with the right dedication and the right mindset, etc. But it takes lots of time, and like anything else, like any other career, you have to be dedicated to it. But for the majority of the people, you're not searching for trading. You want to invest to make a better living, because when the moment you start buying the latest stock picks, so finding those companies which look cheap in the stock market, just $10 or $20, because you think they will go up to 100, so you make 5 times return or sometimes 10 times return. And there were people who made that amount of return, especially when there was the crypto wave a few years back.
And the NFTs?
And the NFTs, there were people who tell you, listen, I just put in 1,000, now I have 20,000, 30,000, even 100,000 sometimes. But they are few. They don't represent the majority who put in the money in crypto. Many people lost money in the crypto market. And they lost money because they thought that they're investing when they're putting in money into crypto. In fact, crypto, you can invest into crypto, but it has to be a lower part of your investing budget.
Because there's more risk involved.
Yes, there's much more risk involved. At the end of the day, it's up to you, okay? But I emphasized a lot on the S&P 500 because it's tested and proven.
Okay.
Cryptos, this past, how many? 10 years, 15 years.
12, I think.
I have nothing against crypto. I believe in its potential, but it shouldn't be the base of your investing. And many, especially young people, they just invest into crypto because they see it as the future.
Okay.
Diversify as much as possible.
With what you said about NFTs, you mentioned that people have gotten from 1,000 to 20,000, 30,000, 100,000. These people now, all of a sudden, they have fuck you money. So they have lots of money, lump sum, quick. I got it overnight, but my education about money is still almost non-existent. I just bet I found an article which said, let me put it on, let's say, CryptoPunks, and I bought a punk, and now it blew up. I don't have the knowledge about what to do with the money. What is the next step I should do with that money? What is your, even if, for example, a family member passed away, what do you suggest people do when they get a large sum of money?
Okay. So if you inherit a lump sum, let's say you inherit first, because with the person who traded it and he got that amount of return, it's even more difficult for him than for the person who inherited money. Why? Because he got money easy and actually telling him or suggesting to him how to go about it to maintain the profit that he accomplished is more difficult, because normally their mindset is I got this in a few days because I took the risk, and that's how you can get a lot of money, by taking even more risk. So that's their mentality, okay? And for them to change that mentality, it's a whole psychological process that they have to go into, okay? And normally, when a person takes that risk, makes a lot of money, it's very difficult to find those persons who can then maintain it, can maintain that luck, okay? And in the categories, in the money personalities that I work with, because I work with 8 different money personalities, that kind of personality, we call it the fool personality. So the fool personality can be a person who knows how to make money and lots of money, but he doesn't know how to maintain it because he doesn't have the education, or because he made money through risk and he thinks that you can only make money by taking excessive risk. It depends on the person if he's willing or not to make a change, a transition towards being more moderate and maintaining the money he got. Okay? Now, in the case of inheriting a lump sum, normally, not always, but normally people who inherit a lump sum, they're just living a normal life, and then all of a sudden they inherit 100K. Okay? I wouldn't suggest putting all that into investing or into savings, because at the end of the day, money management and money coaching, it's all about balance. So take a portion of that and spend it on your passions as well. Because money is not just living in the future and saving for the future. It's also about living now.
The future might not come.
Exactly. And if money was just living in the future, many people would give up on it. Why? Because some people maybe they say, who knows if I live 10 years more, 20 years more. Other people they say, listen, I just want instant gratification, or thinking about money in the long run is boring for me. I don't want to think that. So if you inherit a lump sum, spend part of it on your passions, and maybe you want to start a new business, which is a passion of yours. Why not? And take a portion out of it, and either enhance your emergency fund if you're still not up to, if it's still not up to standard, and invest the other portion of it. Okay, and if you have 100K, I would not for, it's not the same for every person, but I would invest 30 to 50% of it. Okay, especially if you have certain goals where you want to retire more comfortably, etc.
Technically, you were living just as good before the money came in.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you shouldn't. I mean, not do it.
The lifestyle is what makes people go broke, I think, because some people live above their lifestyle. Their lifestyle is above their earnings. So it's like Luca mentioned in the beginning, some people overspend, and then they're in a situation where they're losing out on money. So as long as you remain with the same lifestyle, I think if you inherit 100K and if you have a simple lifestyle where you just maybe go out once a week and you're happy with that and you travel a few times a year, that 50K remaining after the investment is going to last you as well.
Yeah, of course.
And that 50K that you have left is going to earn more with interest or whatever, or if you invested. So I think lifestyle is what's very important with these types of people that are firstly going out to learn more about money, like understanding their lifestyle, I feel like.
Yeah. And I am seeing a change also in the mentality of people, because in the past, when they inherited large sums of money, they either looked at either saving a big portion of it in the bank and spend the rest of it, or spend it all. Okay, because the money came out from nowhere. Okay, so I deserve to spend it all. The change I am noticing, especially with young people, like from 20 years upwards, they're asking more questions, and they want to learn more about how to fight money, how to manage money, also about the psychology of money, etc. And this came about also because we're living in a knowledge, how to say, in a world where knowledge is everywhere. Okay, and it's not the same in the past. If you wanted advice about money, they used to go to the bank, and whatever the investment advisor told them, it was the Bible. Nowadays it's different. Nowadays, young people are asking questions, and the questions they ask are very practical, and they are very, how to say, relevant questions.
Okay.
And that's a change which I am pleasantly surprised about. And I think in the future, if financial literacy continues to spread and these people continue to ask these kind of questions, there will be an improvement in society in general.
Okay. You know what I like to talk about, Nick? If one day there were no more rules, and what's your favorite unethical way to make money? What would it be?
Favorite unethical way to make money?
We can bleep it if it's too...
I don't know, actually. I need to think about this. I mean, there's currently already a lot of unethical ways people and even companies are making money.
I think I'd do a couple of rug pulls.
What
What would... I'd do a rug pull. I'd make a
Crypto
brand
NFT.
hyped up, and then...
Okay.
Like they did in NFTs.
What's your favorite unethical way of making money?
Or have you
So
seen?
my favorite.
Or have you seen?
I have to see.
Have you seen? Let's start from there.
So, as you were saying, there are many unethical ways of making money. For me, the one that gets me the most, and it's also part of my industry now, is when I see investment advisors selling products to people who don't know a thing about money, and they tell them it's the best option for you, when in fact it isn't. And they don't even make an analysis of the person, okay, what the person really needs and what the person really really wants in his future. And these advisors, I'm not saying all investment advisors, okay, but these advisors, they do it because it's easy to earn a commission then. So
Okay.
easy selling, easy commission. And that's very unethical. And then these persons who invest in these products after 20, 30 years, and they turn back on the money they saved and invested, and they ask, why hasn't my money grown as much as my neighbor or the other person I know? Okay? And this is quite a common trait what these people are doing. So they push certain products, they tell people that this is the best product that you can buy, when in reality it isn't, and there are better options. But for the investment advisor, it's easier to sell. And if it's easier to sell, then why not sell it? Okay? And I tell them, look, you're into the investing world now. In 20, 30 years' time, you'll make lots of money. But we have to be careful here. Because, okay, I was saying in the beginning, if you invest, you make 8 to 10% a year, whatever. But you have to be careful on what investments you go into. Not every kind of investment will give you that amount of money, okay?
So these jobs shouldn't be commission-based, they should be salary-based.
I believe so. It will take, of course, quite a revolution.
Definitely.
Okay. But yes, if it's for the good of the people, yes. I would go for salary-based.
I have a way. I thought of a way.
Okay.
So you have to be a politician for this to work. But you privatize healthcare, hint, hint. Privatize healthcare, and then you invest in the top 100 food and beverage companies in the country. You make sure you fill them with sugar, preservatives, additives, that. And,
The health is important.
that's how you make money.
So I've been investing for 10, 20 years. And I've been making 8 to 10% now. But now I'm no longer happy with that. I want to make 20. I'm still in the position to take risks. Rather than investing in stock market, what are some other investment options people can make
Okay, so
that would be still beneficial and risk is somewhat higher, but the returns are much higher than?
okay, it depends also on what's trending as
Okay.
well. Okay, so I mentioned 8 to 10% when it came to the S&P 500, but there's a thing called thematic investing. For example, you really believe in AI,
Okay.
and you think that in 10 years' time, AI will be much bigger than it is now. So companies who are investing in AI will grow much more than they are nowadays. So you can say, listen, let's put a percentage of my investments into just AI companies. Okay, so you just handpick 5 to 10 companies which you really believe in, and you invest in them. Why? Because the potential is not just 8 to 10% a year, but it can be potentially 20 to 30% a year on average. Okay. So that's one way of looking at it. Or maybe you really believe in electric vehicles. Okay. I believe that in 10, 15 years time, we will see more electric vehicles than the current cars that we're accustomed to. So that may be a thing which you can invest in and potentially earn a higher interest. But the market is quite. You cannot really say, listen, that's going to succeed or that's going to succeed, because nothing is really proven except the S&P 500. So if you do that, you're taking more risk. But if you want to take more risk, you can look at these industries which are riskier, more exciting, but which can potentially give you a much, much better return. But they can also potentially,
You can lose
reduce your return much more. Because, for example, another team, you remember the medical cannabis years when they rose a lot.
Yes.
They spent some months up here, and then because of regulations, etc., they never really were that popular. Then they went down as they were before. So that industry didn't succeed. And the same can happen with any team you choose. Some teams, of course, like AI, I don't see it going down anytime soon. I think it's the future. But You can hear me say it. I think.
There's no guarantee.
Okay, there's
Only
no
Warren
guarantee.
Buffett knows.
And Warren Buffett, yeah, he's the most experienced investor out there. Okay, and that's why many people study him and study the investments he went into. When I mentioned the S&P 500, because it has 90 years of history that you can look into, it doesn't mean that it will return 8 to 10% next year or the year after. But if you look at its history, it has more potential of doing so than the other funds around.
Speaking of someone like that, reading a bit about stocks and basically all the things going around. There's a particular one, which usually stocks, when they go high, they break down into smaller ones. I don't know.
The split.
His never split, no?
Sorry?
His company never split, or how was it?
Of Warren Buffett, you mean? Berkshire Hathaway?
Yeah, isn't it like 160,000 to buy one share?
Yeah, I think he has Class A, and because then
Exactly.
you go into the technicalities of it.
Different
classes
of shares that mean different things.
Yeah.
Those aren't something someone should look into when
Not
starting out.
really. For example, Tesla split its the value of its share, I think, 3 times already. They do it to make it more
Easy.
seemingly affordable. Okay, seemingly. But in reality, now the problem has taken care of itself, because now we can do fractional investing. So we can buy 1/5 of Tesla if you want.
Okay, you can buy as much as you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can just say, that's why I said, if you put in 100 a month and you want to buy a part of the S&P 500, you can, right now, I think the ETF related to the S&P 500 is $420, something like that. You can buy $100 of it, or you can buy 200. It's up to you.
Okay.
That's why investing and money in general has become more democratized from a practical point of view, not from a psychological, okay?
Okay.
Let's go back into, because now we got a lot into investing and stocks. Let's go back into your experience, maybe your past clients. What have you seen most common mistake people do? I don't think we went really into detail about that.
Not really.
Most common mistake people do, or craziest thing people have done, like any of your clients or any crazy stories.
So the most common, I would say, overspending.
Like you mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah, is quite common, and many of them, they earn decent salary. Okay, so for me, a decent salary is from 30K upwards. Is always decent. Okay, some they earn 100K a year as well, but they still have this problem of overspending, and they end up with credit card debt still, even those earning 100K a year.
What's your opinion on credit cards? Do you have a credit card?
No, credit card, the one that the one that gives you money and then you have to pay.
Yeah.
I don't have one. No.
No.
I never had one.
Okay.
And some people may tell you, listen, if you have one, it's safer, because if you get stuck somewhere, you can use it. I think it's very dangerous. I think if you have a good emergency fund, you never need a credit card. Okay. I would avoid it like the plague. Okay, because it's something which you can go to. You can use it as your support, when in fact it's a trap, and many people fall in that trap.
With overspending, then they get into
overspending, because once I use it to buy a new iPhone, I will replace it. Okay, then the other month, let me use it to buy a new iPad. Let me use it to buy a new handbag. But all of a sudden, you're into credit card debt.
That quick, just few purchases and
I had a client. She never used a credit card. She had quite a good bump in her salary, so she went from 30K to 55K. And just a few months later, she was living the last week of her month thanks to her credit card.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
That's something I don't understand, and I don't know if it's just me, but I don't understand how people live. I mean, I understand. I'm going to say this. I understand how people live paycheck to paycheck. People that really don't earn decent money, but people who do earn average or above average, I can't understand how they live paycheck to paycheck. So literally on the last week of their month, they don't have enough money left to buy groceries or whatever. And you also hear, like, this is something that my friend said, oh, listen, yeah, like if we're going abroad, let me wait for the end of the month so I get my paycheck so I can afford it. I'm like, yeah, but what do you mean you can't afford it? Like, if you can't afford it now, why would you be able to afford it at the end of the month? You know what I mean? You either
Exactly.
afford it or you don't afford it. Like, if you come to me at the beginning of the month or end of the month or whatever, if I don't afford it, I tell you, listen, I don't afford it. If I afford it, I'm gonna pay for it then and there. It doesn't matter if it's the beginning of the month or the end of the month.
You have this situation where these persons, like for example, let's mention a lawyer, okay, and he's earning a very good salary, a very good income. But what happens when you're in a certain profession, or when you have a certain lifestyle connected to that profession, or you choose to live that lifestyle, okay, and standards change for you. So if you are accustomed to, I don't know, spending 50 euro on your work shirt, now it's a no. Now you have to spend 100 euro on your work shirt. Okay,
The
and on your
image.
so the image affects a lot. And these people, although they're earning a very good salary, they fall into this trap to that, there's a saying, keeping up with the Joneses. That's the saying. And they fall into this trap that they think that to improve, they have to earn even more money. So they get a promotion, or they do a course and they transition from one company to another, or maybe they start their own business and, okay, they earn more money, but they still end up with the same problem, because earning more money is not the solution.
Saving more.
Saving more, managing it, that's the first part. Manage your money better, and then saving comes after. But if you manage it better, it doesn't matter if you earn more or not. Okay, and earning more is a bonus. Why not? But if you're aware that if you manage it better, you can enhance your lifestyle, that's a big change for many people, which they are not aware of. Because these people who are earning these kind of salaries, okay, they're afraid to talk. They are the silent sufferers in our society, because it's even more difficult for them to talk about money than for persons who are earning very little money, like for example 15, 20k a year. Okay, for them it's easier to talk, and the government listens to these people more than he listens to people who are earning a decent income. Why? Because if they talk, then society will prejudice them. They will say, what is he talking about, that lawyer? He has a problem with money. It's not true. It's his fault, because he doesn't know how to spend, etc. Okay? And this is all related also to mental health. We've been hearing this lately about, I read many articles about a rise in the suicide rate in Malta, etc. Okay? And I'm not saying that it's related to money, okay? I don't know why they happened. But money is such a taboo that people are afraid of talking about it, and they can enter into a depression because they suffer silently, okay? And they're not, they don't want to talk about it because they're afraid. And these are the majority of my clients. They want to talk to someone, and sometimes they don't even talk to their relatives about it.
Okay.
Because they're afraid. They're ashamed to talk about it.
I think a better thing would be...
Guys, the Mac is about to die.
And the Mac. Well, it doomed because I'm trying not to forget what I was going to say.
Before it's interrupted. It said a while ago, so...
X'taħsbu sissa?
طيب تمام. Naħseb 10 minutes oħra nkun issa nagħmlu.
Rajt. Għax jiena nibqa' għaddej.
No problem.
All good?
Yes, still recording, right? Okay. All right, ftakart. What was the first word I said biex nkompli biha?
I think
I think a problem. I mean, you mentioned the problem is people not reaching out to their relatives and all of that. But I think one problem is reaching out to the wrong relative. So reaching out to
as
the
well,
wrong person
yeah.
who tells you, no, do this, do this. And you just listen to them just because maybe they're your older relative or they're your father or mother or grandmother, whatever. So I think sometimes that is a problem. So I think it's better if people reach out to the right person, not necessarily their relative, but could be a friend, could be a colleague, could be a mentor.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people think that if they speak to their relatives are the ones that have the most knowledge about something, which isn't the case.
Yeah.
I mean, they have experience, but I don't think they're the experts in everything, which is, I think, why you have your own now career, which is Money Coach. So
Yeah.
people should come to you as someone who is experienced with money and knows what to do with money.
Yeah, yeah. And I made it a point also to reach out to these people with who are experiences these weaknesses and these difficult moments, because they think that no one can understand them. Because when they approach that relative and he tells them, listen, the way I tackled it is like this, and this. And you end up feeling, but it's not what I want, how I want to tackle it. So this person hasn't helped me. He has just given me his opinion, her opinion. And I see people with different kinds of objectives and different kinds of situations. I've had clients who are anxious about money. I've had clients who feel powerful when they think about money. And then I've had also clients who use money to manipulate others and they want to fix that. Okay? So many different characteristics out there when it comes to money. I am surprised that it's not a subject of its own, because there's so many psychological factors that come into play, okay, which get ignored. Okay, we focus on the practical side of money. We should focus more on the psychological.
Before you mentioned that you have 7 different money personalities. What was
8.
the word?
8.
One of them's the fool.
Tell us about
Yeah.
those. Like, so money personalities. What are they?
So these money personalities were first coined by Deborah Price. She's the leader of the Money Coaching Institute, where I got my certification from. And there are 8. The fool is the most popular because it's related to overspending and making lots of money, but they find it difficult to maintain it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the one which many people fall under. Okay, then you have the innocent. The innocent is a person who gets anxious every time he thinks about money. He or she believes that they are not capable of managing money, and even if they earn lots of money, they either ask another person to manage it for them, or they are the kind of persons who leaves it in the bank and let it there because they're afraid to touch it. Okay, and historically, many women fell into this category. Now it's changing. Okay, but I think more needs to be done to encourage women, okay, to manage their own money. Because I think that if women are empowered more, they can do even better than men. That's my opinion. Okay, so that's the innocent archetype. Then you have the victim. The victim is the kind of person very much like the innocent, but he resents his position. So he's the kind of person that if you tell him, listen, you can do this, and this to improve, and he would say, listen, this cannot happen to me. I've ended up in this situation because of my circumstances, and whatever you tell me, they won't change my circumstances. So it's kind of person who maybe grew up in a poor family, and you give him the opportunity to change, but he's not willing because he plays the victim. I am in this situation, I cannot change it. Okay. Then there is the martyr. Okay. This is the kind of person who likes to help other persons before himself. So he ends up in a position where the martyr position, okay? Nothing ever good comes because other people have it better than me. You have to take care of your own yourself first before helping others. And many parents fall into martyr position because they tend to help their children first. They give them everything, so
Because
that they lack
school,
nothing.
They pay for their tutoring,
Yeah.
they pay for great clothes.
And
good
then you
food.
find out that these parents, they have nothing under their name.
Are
Because
they
give-
setting up? Sorry.
Mhm.
Are they setting up their children for failure
Ah, good
by
question.
giving them everything?
That's a good question.
Look, I believe education is better than just forking out funds for your children. But there are some children who make the most of it and succeed. Okay? You cannot generalize here. But I would prefer them to get their children more educated in financial literacy than literally buying anything they want and funding everything they want. Okay? I'm not saying that all parents are martyrs or all martyrs are parents, but you have a majority of parents over there. Okay? So that's 3 or 4 with the fool. 4. Then you have the tyrant. So the tyrant is the kind of person who uses money to manipulate others. He's the kind of the dominant male figure you have in the family. I earn the money, so every person has to do as I say. So he uses money to manipulate others. It's a very insecure person, okay? Because for him, if he doesn't have that money, he has nothing. So for him, money is not something to do good with. For him, money is simply to control others to do his bidding.
Okay.
Okay. Then you have the creator artist personality. So these are the persons who think that money is the root of all evil. Okay. They are the dreamers, I would say. They have a big talent, like for example, an artist painting something, but he isn't willing to monetize it because if that thing touches money, it will be damaged goods. Okay.
Exactly like Banksy. It's reminding me of.
Yeah.
Have you seen Banksy when he destroyed his? Was it?
The artwork with the shredder built
Yeah.
inside the
Have-
frame?
I haven't seen it, but yeah, it's similar. It's a similar concept. And these people, their main weakness is they are very talented, but they're not monetizing their talents. And that's something also which I tackle in my money coaching sessions, because monetizing your talents is a great way of earning more money from your passions. Okay. And then you have the warrior archetype. The warrior is the kind of person who feels in control of his own money. He knows how to manage it. He's one of the ideal archetypes out there, but he or she finds it difficult to differentiate between rich and wealth. Okay? So they focus a lot on the practical side of money. So I want to be a millionaire, but why do you want to be a millionaire? I don't know, because that's the word that many people say for financial freedom. Okay? So they don't really know the idea of being wealthy, what it means. They must work more on their psychology. They're in a better position than the other archetypes, but they need more work, okay, to transition into the wealth side, which is the magician archetype. The magician archetype is comfortable when it comes to money. For him, money is not the root of all evil, but a thing which you can do good with. So for philanthropy, he dedicates money to help others. He's in a comfortable position, so he can do that. It's the ideal scenario for everyone. Not just being a millionaire for the sake of being a millionaire, but having money to live a rich life, which is part of your dreams.
I think with every single one, I could imagine someone and the good that they do, and the factors that they may need to improve on. And it's true that a combination of these people really...
Yeah, there's a lot of overlapping as well between one
Exactly.
personality and another. On my website, there's a free money quiz that they can do, and they can have a result which money archetype they are in. And most of the time, it's, let's say, 80 to 90% accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listening to you talking about money personalities, I couldn't understand which one I am.
Because most of the time, our characteristics are very similar to our parents because we inherit. You find cases where the person rebels against the parents' characteristics and goes to the other extreme. So if his father was a saver, he goes spending everything he earns. Okay? And in that case, we have to find the balancing act. Not go to the extreme of being too frugal, like maybe his father was, but finding the middle ground, okay? Where the person is comfortable in, okay? We don't try to change a person's talents, okay? We try to help persons transition from one personality to another, but keeping the good of the weaker personalities. So if it's the creator artist, I wouldn't tell him, listen, you have to leave it all to become a magician. Keep the good things of the creator artist, because if you are a creator artist, you have lots of talent, but be more practical when it comes to money. Okay? Because nowadays, fortunately or unfortunately, money is, we have to live with it. We cannot just reject it and say, listen, I'm going to live the artist life on my own in a room, the hermit kind of lifestyle, and that's it. The world has changed so much, and we live in a capitalist society. So like it or not, that's the reality. So make a step forwards and get hold of it.
Luca, if you had to give one word of advice to yourself when you were 18 about money, what would you tell yourself?
So 18. Okay, it's when I started studying more about personal finances, etc. When I was 18, I went to an investment advisor, because that's the first thing you think about when you think about investing. And he had suggested, listen, buy a government stock, a Maltese bond. Okay? So very conservative, but for many people it's secure and it does the job. And I really wanted to invest in the S&P 500 at the time, because I had read that it's the best thing, etc., and it gives you that amount of return, whatever. I would have gone more with my instinct and with my studies to invest in the S&P 500. So I would say to myself, don't listen to those people who you think are better than you, because sometimes you are the best person for your own objectives. Okay? So trust yourself more, believe in your abilities, because if you do the right research, you read the right books, and no one is better than yourself to know what's best for you. Okay?
I think that's a good message to end off the episode. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been a pleasure. Nick, any final comments?
No. I still won't look at my bank account after this, but hopefully it's double what it was when I last checked it.
I still plan on doing that rug pull. So guys, comment who you want to see next. Please like, subscribe, and support us on our socials. They're linked below. If you'd like to donate to help us fund our investment single-handedly projects, it will be on the S&P one day. Thanks for watching, and till next time.